this course, we'll be covering one of, if not the most popular LLM that is currently out there as of recording this video, ChatGPT. You'll learn everything from what ChatGPT is and their language model GPT, then applying ChatGPT in various use cases for your work and personal life, and finally, learn how to create images using DALL-E, OpenAI's image generation tool inside of ChatGPT. By the end of this, you should be more than competent in using ChatGPT for your daily AI assistant, helping you get things done far faster than ever before. Developed by OpenAI, ChatGPT uses a groundbreaking AI LLM known as Generative Pre-trained Transformer Technology, or GPT. First released in 2022, ChatGPT opened the floodgates, serving as one of the major milestones in AI text generation. And what sets ChatGPT apart is not just the scale of its LLM, but also the additional layers of training and tuning specifically designed to optimize its performance in conversational contexts. Currently, as I record this course, ChatGPT runs off of GPT-4o model, the fourth iteration of OpenAI's GPT model. Its capabilities are boundless with high performance and accuracy for multiple languages, allowing visual input and output, human-level professional performance, reading and arithmetic performance, common sense reasoning, and code generation output. Now, speaking on complex tasks, since September 2024, OpenAI released a new family of AI models that they're currently labeling as O1. This new line of AI models are worth mentioning because they aren't a replacement to GPT-4, but instead are more refined and complex reasoning and problem solving for areas in science, math, and engineering, something that other tools like Claude were better known to do. So just to give you an example, the O1 model achieved an 83% score on an International Mathematics Olympiad exam versus GPT-4o's 13%. As of October 2024, ChatGPT released their announcement for Canvas. So this is just a new way to interact with the ChatGPT platform when it comes to writing and coding projects. And it goes beyond just a simple chat interface that you had, where before it was very just linear scroll, and you have this scroll through mountains of text. What they're essentially trying to do here is to improve the interface and user experience so that you can spend less time prompting itself and just spend more time interacting with the platform as if it's a web app. So just to give you an example, you can select Canvas at the top. It's only been released since a few weeks ago, but as of right now, Canvas is only in beta. So once it's out of beta, then it will be offered to free users. But for paid users, this is where we can get access to the Canvas. So let me just show you how it looks like. So if I click this window, then it can show, but you'll see on the left side, you'll have the actual direct chat. And then on the right, you have the content in itself. Now, it isn't just an aesthetic difference. But if you look at the bottom right corner here, you'll notice a couple of actions you can take. So you can see here, I can suggest edits and then click that. And immediately it's going to scan through and give me some areas and where I can improve the content. And you can do this by putting in existing content and seeing it, getting it to scan through, or some new content in itself. You even have the options to edit or explain it directly on specific areas, right? You can prompt something like, explain this paragraph in a more simple manner. And it gives you this explanation. So let's say if you copy and paste over long documents into ChatGPT, now you can just get it to be explained directly from the interface. And this is the same thing when it comes to programming, where if you have a program code right here, then you have different options that you can take, whether it's adding comments, adding logs, fixing bugs, porting to a new language, or doing code reviews. If I were to just do code review here, I can review the code, and then it gives me a couple of comments here on what it's found and things that I can fix up upon. So I can apply this directly, and it'll go about doing so. See, it's just changing up the code now. And so this is just another improvement that ChatGPT has made, and we can continue to see more improvements along the way. So before we get started with prompting with ChatGPT, remember these key points and tips on prompting. Be clear and specific, incorporate examples, guide the LLM with tone and style specifications, follow up with questions, iterate and refine, and split complex tasks into steps when need be. 1 year since the release of ChatGPT, OpenAI released the ability for users to create their own customized GPT. GPTs, or custom GPTs as they're more commonly known, are versions of ChatGPT tailored for specific tasks or purposes created by companies or individuals much like yourself. The reason why we're covering this is because we want to help you learn how to leverage many of these custom GPTs. If you want to get started with GPTs, just sign up at chatgpt.com, you log in, you pay for a ChatGPT Plus or Teen plan, and then at the top left corner, you can then explore GPTs and be welcomed to hundreds of different GPTs created by people or companies to get started. So in just a few months since the release of GPTs, OpenAI saw over 3 million custom GPTs being created. Now that doesn't necessarily mean that all of those GPTs on the store are super useful, and a lot of these could actually be garbage. But the numbers are just there to show that there has been an immense amount of people leveraging GPTs to customized use cases specifically for them. Today, you have access to countless customized GPTs, each for a specific need. Whether you're a business looking to streamline something or an individual seeking greater productivity, GPTs are a great way to do more with ChatGPT. Creating your own GPT is incredibly straightforward as well, and it doesn't really require any coding skills. You can design them for personal use, for your company, internal processes, or even make them accessible to everyone on the GPT store. Just start a conversation, provide instructions, add some extra knowledge attachments, and select its capabilities. So if you want to get started with creating your own custom GPT, you can do so by just going to the top right of your ChatGPT and then just hitting create. For the most part, as of recording this video, creating your own custom GPT is only accessible for people that have ChatGPT Plus or Teams. So if it is grayed out, it's most likely because you have not paid for a Plus account. But if you have, well then once you hit create, then you'll be welcome to this screen. And on the right, you'll see the preview, which is where you can play around with and test your custom GPT that you're creating. On the left is where you're going to be doing most of the configurations and settings. So there's 2 ways to go about creating it. Create tab right here. You just talk with ChatGPT directly. It's going to be asking you questions like, what would you like to create? What do you want your icon to look like? What is the behavior? What is the tone? And you just answer it accordingly. While configure is more so, just as the name implies, adjusting and creating the ChatGPT on your own. So you can go about creating it in both ways, but what I recommend is for create custom GPT is more for people who don't really know specifically what they want to create yet and just sort of want to explore. While configure, if you do have something in mind, then you can just directly type in everything that you know that you want, and it's a little bit more customizable in that sense. Now, take note, just because you create with create doesn't mean it's not customizable. You can always go back and edit your GPT, but it's just I like to differentiate the two. So just going with configure, you can start off by selecting your icon. You can either get DALL-E to create it, or you can upload your own. So in this case, I have something of my own. Let's put something like here. And for the name, it's pretty self-explanatory. So let's say I want to create a sort of coach that helps people learn about the UI UX design. So I can say something like Design Lifeline. I want to name it something sweet and simple like that. Description, your guide to design, right? So keep in mind, this description is a way to describe what your custom GPT does. Don't try to make it too fancy, because if you do want to publicize your custom GPT to the GPT store, it needs to be something that is straightforward for people to understand. This is exactly what I need this GPT for, all right? If you want to go start with the instructions is all about what kind of tone do you want it to take? What kind of format of the responses do you want? What is the key thing that this GPT is doing, right? So in this case, I can try to talk about it saying, this GPT should help designers and people looking to get it to design with tips on design thinking, design systems, and everything related to becoming a better UX UI designer. right? Provide all responses in bullet point form and maintain a professional tone. You don't really need to specify what kind of tone it is, but let's say if you're creating a custom GPT for your organization, obviously you do want it to sound a bit more professional, so then you can kind of adjust to here. If you don't want to, you can leave it out as well. You can also specify things by saying, don't assume that all users are beginners in UX UI design. Something like that, if depending on what kind of custom GPT you're creating. When it comes to conversation starters, these are just small pills that you can help improve the user experience. So when somebody comes into your custom GPT at first, these pills will be the very starting navigating points, right? So something like use DALL-E to generate a UI mockup for mobile apps or a mobile app, something like that. So just so people can, at the very beginning, they can click that and it will already take an action, right? You can say something like explain the principles of Gestalt, explain the Gestalt principles in design. And then you can also say explain design thinking, the key concepts of design, something like that, right? So this just gives you an idea of what you can kind of do from the very get-go, or what your users can do from the very get-go, instead of just to get the conversation rolling, right? And you can put as many as you want. The next point here is knowledge. So knowledge, think about knowledge as the data sets or the data that you're going to feed your custom GPT to make it as custom as possible. Now, of course, if you don't fill this in, the custom GPT will take liberties to just rely on OpenAI's LLM dataset. But if you do add some documents here, it will give a little bit more context to this custom GPT. So since I'm creating a sort of coaching guide for design, I prepared a couple of files. So I downloaded this file on public documents online. So this is all about design thinking processes. And then this one's all about a paper on the Gestalt psychology and human-centric design. So I can put that here. And then once I have these PDFs there, my custom GPT will now be able to reference these documents directly when providing responses as well. So the more you feed it, the better, and the more customized it can technically become. So if your organization has tasked you to create a custom GPT, or you want to create a custom GPT for your own brand, it would be good to feed information like any documents or information, data points about your brand or about your business or about your company that can help the custom GPT provide more personalized responses. At the bottom here is capabilities. You can turn some of these on or off. I tend to like to keep web browsing and image generation on, especially for this case because it's very design centric. And then if you wanted to do more data analysis or coding, then you can turn this on as well. But if your GPT is not really going to do anything like that, feel free to keep it off. And then of course, at the end, you have actions. The thing about these actions, and most people won't really find need for it, is if you're creating a specific GPT that is supposed to take action outside of the ChatGPT interface. So for example, there are custom GPTs out there where if you input a YouTube link, it will go through that whole YouTube video and then give a summary of that video. All right, so things like that, that creator will most likely have connected with the OpenAI API. With that API, it can then do actions such as that, right? And so companies like Canva, they most likely connect the OpenAI API together with their Canva, and that's why the Canva GPT will be able to cross-reference and pull from the Canva app itself, right? So it's really useful for those kind of things. But if for the most part, for the average user, you won't really need to have to dig into this. But if by chance you want to do so, you can always hit learn more or get help from Actions GPT, and it'll guide you on how to go about doing so. Yeah, so once you've done that and you're ready to go, feel free to play around. For example, let's say if I want to say, explain the Gestalt principles in design, I can sort of just test this out to see what it can deliver. And right now it is going there. There you go. And then it's already going to start referencing the document of the PDF file that I gave it, right? And so it's already kind of giving bullet point form based off of my instructions. And yeah, there you go, right? So once you're done with that, you just hit create, and then you can share it with, you can make it something that's only for you, or you can make it that it's accessible by other people, but as long as they have the link, or you can make it into the public GPT store and then start categorizing it into whatever category, and maybe people can get a lot of benefit and value from this. So there you have it. This is how you create your own GPT. I hope that was super useful, and we'll move on to the next section. So let's start off with one of the key use cases of ChatGPT or other LLMs, which is ideation. So let's say you're running out of ideas, even stuck at a point where you don't know what to write about, create content on, or more. This is where LLMs like ChatGPT can help quite a lot. Keep in mind, the following prompts are just examples. They're not set in stone. You can add more information or change it up, but I've bolded a couple of areas where you can replace whatever is more relevant for you. So let's get started. First is content topic ideas. You can use ChatGPT to generate creative, engaging blog post ideas to captivate your target audience. For example, as a content marketer for a tech company, generate 10 blog post ideas focused on AI advancements and business applications with a mix of education, how-to, and trend-based topics. So you can see here, it has created a couple of different topic ideas, distributing them across educational topics, how-to guides, and trend-based topics. You can also use ChatGPT for headline ideas. You can brainstorm compelling headlines that grab attention and are potentially great for boosting clicks. So an example here could be, as a copywriter, provide 10 attention-grabbing headline ideas for a blog post about benefits of intermittent fasting, targeting health-conscious millennials. And so you can see the results here. There's plenty of suggestions that are provided. Next is marketing campaigns. You can use ChatGPT to get some ideas for comprehensive targeted marketing campaigns and structure them out initially to have a great starting point. So an example prompt here could be, as a marketing strategist for a fitness brand, outline a creative marketing campaign focused on promoting an eco-friendly yoga mat to environmentally conscious consumers, including key messaging and channels to use. So you see here, there are some suggestions on what the campaign name could be, the objective, some key messaging, what target audiences you can go. And so this really serves as a great skeleton to start brainstorming on different campaign ideas. You can even use ChatGPT for problem-solving solutions. So you can explore creative solutions for business or personal challenges. An example prompt here could be something like, as a business consultant, suggest 3 actionable solutions for reducing employee burnout, considering the limited budget to hire new people and being part of a fast-paced tech startup. And so you see here, there are the suggestion number 1. So we implement a focused time policy. What would the impact be? How to go about executing it? Suggestion number 2, and then suggestion number 3. You can also use ChatGPT for writing and creating. And so we start off with long-form content. And with long-form content, you can craft detailed and in-depth article drafts in a matter of minutes. So an example prompt here could be, as a content marketer, generate a 1,000-word blog post on sustainable travel trends, targeting millennial travelers and including data on eco-friendly destinations and expert posts from travel bloggers. And so you see here, it's even gone as far as giving some research, and then it starts creating some drafts for long-form content. You can write engaging social media posts optimized for various platforms. So an example prompt here could be, as a social media manager, create 3 engaging social media posts for Instagram to talk about a new skincare line with a fun and informative tone aimed at young women aged 18 to 30. And so you see here, this is posts that are geared towards Instagram. So they have including a lot of emojis. Formatting is for Instagram as well. Keep it short. It even gives you suggestions on some reels that you can do, the captions you can put, or some story polls and giveaways. You can also use ChatGPT for content calendar planning. So structure your content strategy for upcoming months. An example prompt here could be, as a content strategist, generate a monthly content calendar for a fitness brand, including post, social media post ideas, and key dates. And so you see here for that prompt, I get week 1, what will the blog posts be, what are the social media posts that we can put, as well as some key dates to remember as well. And then you get week 2, and then same thing, and it goes to this week by week. You can also use ChatGPT for designing seamless email sequences to nurture leads and clients. So an example prompt here could be something like, as an email marketer, create a 5-step automated email sequence for a new software product designed to nurture leads and drive conversions. And so you see the result here. They have different steps. It gives the different email flow. So step 1, what should you do? What type of content that should be there? The subject line, the CTA. And of course, if you give more context, the better results it can give you. Step 3, step 4, and this can help you. You can then transfer this idea over to other platforms like Figma or Miro to visualize this step-by-step process. And then speaking on email, you can also do follow-up emails, where you can automate personalized follow-up emails to maintain engagement. Super useful for sales. So an example prompt here could be, as a sales manager, write a follow-up email to a potential client who showed interest in our premium coaching services, aiming to close the deal. So you see the result here. Let's take a step. You can fill in the client's name. And here is and this is the same thing as I said earlier. If you give more context about your business and the products you have, ChatGPT can fill out the details in a lot more precise way. ChatGPT can also be used for writing SEO meta descriptions. So generate keyword optimized descriptions to improve your search engine visibility. So an example prompt here could be something like, as a SEO specialist, write an SEO optimized meta description for a blog post about remote work productivity tips that includes the keyword remote productivity and stays within the 160 character limit. So you see here's an example prompt, and it just gives you a quick little example. It can also be very useful for writing ad copy. So you can write persuasive copy that converts clicks into sales. So an example prompt here could be something like, as a copywriter, create a compelling ad copy for a new running shoe targeting athletes on Facebook. Make the tone sound exciting and motivational. And so you see the example here, and you have a couple of ad copy that you can use, and you can even ask it to create multiple ad copies so you can do a lot of A/B testing. And you can also use ChatGPT for creating slogans and taglines. Create catchy slogans to boost your brand recognition. So an example prompt here could be something like, as a brand strategist, generate 5 catchy slogans or taglines for a fitness app focusing on personalized fitness plans. So you see here as a result, here are 5 catchy slogans for a fitness brand, and you keep moving forward. ChatGPT can also be very useful for e-commerce brands, where you can write compelling product descriptions that highlight key features and benefits. So an example prompt here could be something like, as an e-commerce manager, write an engaging product description for a noise-canceling headset, highlighting then you insert some of its features. And then you see here, as an example, product description, silent noise, and give some products. And once again, you add more context about the features and the product, then the better job it will do. You can also use LLMs and ChatGPT to write sales pitches and proposals. So get it to draft persuasive pitches or proposals that will help you win a business. So an example here could be, as a business development manager, draft a persuasive sales pitch for our cloud-based project management software to be presented to a large construction company. So you see the output here, and there's a sales-based production, and then here's the opening statement. Here's some pain points that you can consider. Here, what are the solutions that are going to be taken in mind? And then you can use these. Here's some how the company will benefit, and you can use this structure to then transfer this over into a presentation app. You can also use ChatGPT for chatbot and support responses to create clear and helpful responses for customer support. So an example prompt here could be something like, as a customer service manager, generate 5 chatbot responses to common customer inquiries about our premium subscription service, focusing on pricing, features, and cancellation options. So you see the output here. Here are 5 chatbot responses. Here's like the inquiry, what's a common inquiry, how the chatbot should respond, what's another inquiry, how the chatbot should respond, and so on and so on. And this can be as many responses as you wish. You can also use ChatGPT for project documentation to craft comprehensive brand guidelines to maintain a consistent messaging. So an example prompt here could be, as a project manager, generate comprehensive project documentation for your website redesign project, including objectives, milestones, and deliverables. And so you see an example here. I've given it some objectives and milestones and deliverables, and then it'll then start creating a project documentation. What are the scopes of the work, the deliverables? And keep in mind, all of this can be customized according to what you want to get. Here are the roles and responsibilities, risks management. Then taking it a little bit more creative, you can get ChatGPT to even generate creative, expressive poems on various themes or styles. So an example prompt here could be something like, as a poet, create a poem about the fleeting nature of time, focusing on nostalgia and longing using a free verse style. And so an example here could be something like this, where you see echoes of passing moments and you see some poems. Now, I wouldn't recommend just copying and pasting this. If you do want to make this something of your own, you can just leverage this as some supporting ideas or help or inspiration to get you started. Beyond poems, you can also use ChatGPT for writing song lyrics in different genres or emotions, from pop to ballads. So an example prompt here could be something like, as a songwriter, write lyrics for a pop song about heartbreak, including a memorable chorus and verses with emotional depth. And so you can see the output here, Lost Without You, a pop song heartbreak theme, gives you all the verses, chorus. And as I said earlier for the poetry, I wouldn't use this completely because it's not really your original work. I would probably use this as just more of an inspiration starting point. And then you can add your own flair to it. So when it comes to doing creative storytelling with ChatGPT, some of the things that you can do is get it to write creative prompts for you, right? So just as a starting point. So you can use ChatGPT to spark your creativity with these unique creative writing prompts that it can provide. And start off as an example, as a creative writing coach, provide 10 unique writing prompts focused on character-driven stories for my mystery novel to help get some ideas for creative writing. You see the results here. It can show you some suggestions, some writing prompts just to help you get started with writing if you're a little bit out of ideas, or perhaps you have an idea, but you just need that extra push to get started. With some of that creative writing prompts in mind, you can either take some of that, or perhaps you've written something out, and then you can get ChatGPT to help you with the creative writing itself by giving some sort of draft. So an example prompt here could be, as a fiction writer, write a creative short story based on the theme of redemption, featuring a misunderstood hero in a post-apocalyptic setting. So you see the output here. There's some stories called Ashfall, and it starts off with a few drafts. Another one called The Stranger on the Road, just based on some of the themes you provided, A Road to Redemption, Forgiveness at Dawn, and so on. Now, beyond just creative stories for novels or whatnot, perhaps you want to transfer them over into actual film. So this is where you can use ChatGPT to write scripts for plays or movies. And an example prompt here could be, as a film scriptwriter, write a movie script about a woman trying to find a lost treasure in the Caribbean seas. Make sure to follow best practices in formatting for a script with descriptions of camera angles and movements as well. And so you see the output here. This is going to look slightly different from those creative stories because it's going to take in mind that this script will be transferred over to a storyboard. So you see the different shots that it provides you. Now, if you do have a script that you've written yourself, or perhaps you've used ChatGPT to provide you that script, you can also organize all your scripts into storyboards by using some of the custom GPTs in the GPT store. So for example, in this case, I used one called Storyboard Artist, which you can just search up in the custom GPT store. You see here about, this is what it is. I chose this one because it has a lot of conversations that were interactive with it. It has a relatively okay score. And from the ones that I played around with, this seems to do a good enough job. So you can start off by writing the prompt, organize the following script into a storyboard formatted in a table, name the first column by scene number, and then you insert your script. So you see the output here. I just copied and pasted from the earlier script. And then what it did was create this table, right? So remember, I noted a scene number. You can then use this as a shortcode to reference each scene when you're creating your sketches. So then with this GPT, it'll then ask you, do you want to begin sketching these shots one by one? So I say, yeah, let's begin sketching it. And you see here, now I have the first scene put out. And the reason why I listed the number of the scene is because later I can just easily say proceed with scene 2. Instead of me just saying, oh, proceed with scene int boat back day, this weird naming convention, I could just say refer to scene 2, and then it'll just create a storyboard. And then from here, you can just take these images and put it into platform like Trello, or perhaps you have your own formatting on maybe Google Docs, and just copy them, paste them over, and now you have a full-on storyboard. Another little clever trick you can do with ChatGPT, or perhaps even other LLMs, is to do something what I call reverse prompt engineer. I just copied an image from a previous storyboard, and then I paste that over, and I write an example prompt. Reverse prompt engineer this image and give an example prompt that I can use for an image generator like Midjourney. And then what you see here is the results. And it will give you a prompt that gives you all the descriptive language, all with some certain camera angles and whatnot, so that you can then copy this prompt and paste it into either DALL-E or Midjourney to create an image that looks similar to it. But of course, in terms of the creative aspects of it, it might vary. But at least it gives you a starting point on writing more descriptive prompts for image generators. Now, ChatGPT isn't only just used for ideation or creation, you can also use it for proofreading. And think of it as having your own editor by your side, being able to detect any issues you have with your work. So in these next set of videos, I'll cover some of the different ways you can use ChatGPT for proofreading. We'll start off with grammar and spell check. This is ensuring your text is free from any grammatical errors and spelling mistakes. So an example prompt here could be, as a professional content editor, check the following text for grammar and spelling errors and suggest corrections. And then you paste in whatever text you have. So you see the output here. I pasted in this little chunk of text here, and then it gives me it gives me the first revised version, and then even tells me what are the key corrections that were made. You then have punctuation and formatting. So this helps to polish your writing with proper punctuation and consistent formatting. And so an example here could be something like, as a professional content editor, review the following text for correct punctuation and consistent formatting. Bold the corrections made. And you paste in your text. So you see as the output here, I pasted in this little text here, and then it shows, okay, there's the text, and here are the corrections that were made. So remove the comma after in and what. You can also enhance readability and clarity. So this helps your text flow better, for readers, and it can help for better understanding as well. So an example prompt here could be, as a professional content editor, improve the readability and clarity of this text while maintaining the original meaning, bold the corrections made. And then you paste in your text. So you see the output here, I pasted in this text here, and then this is, it bolded any of the corrections that it made for better readability and gave me some suggestions on the corrections. You can also improve tone and voice style. So you can adjust how it sounds, how the text sounds to match your intended audience and purpose. So an example prompt here could be, as a professional content editor working in a digital marketing agency, adjust the tone of this text to be engaging and professional, ensuring it matches the intended target audience, potential clients in the tech industry. And then you can just paste in the text here. So you see from the output, I pasted it in this text, and then I wrote down, and then it gave me suggestions on how to go about improving this text so that the tone and voice style is fit for my overall target audience. It's also important to check content accuracy. So use ChatGPT to verify whether your text is factually correct. An example prompt here could be, as a professional fact checker, verify the accuracy of the following text and highlight in bold any errors or inconsistencies. And you paste in your text. So you see the output here, I pasted in this text, World War II, which began, and here now it's going to start fact checking and seeing what are the errors and inconsistencies, and then give me a corrected version. Another super useful thing that ChatGPT does, or other LLMs as well, is to summarize and analyze documents or even videos. So most of what you see next will require some attachments to be added to the chat itself. And I also recommend referencing the accompanying ebook for this section, as there are several custom GPTs that I link to that can be used to do the job much better than the native ChatGPT chat itself. So first we start off with PDF documents. So you can generate concise summaries of lengthy PDF files. And an example prompt here could be, summarize the key points of this PDF document, focusing on the most common themes mentioned. And then you attach your PDF. The output you see here is as so. So I attach this, and it gives me the overall summary of the key themes here. Next is articles and blogs. So you can create brief overviews of articles or blog posts, and this can help to provide a concise summary of whatever you put in. So an example prompt here could be, provide a concise summary of the main takeaways from this article/blog post, and then upload your file. So you see the output here. What I did was I downloaded the blog post itself, and then I uploaded it, and then here are the main key takeaways. I find that this method works better when you upload the file as a PDF file versus if you just choose it to analyze a site or copy and paste. Next, you have summarizing meeting transcripts. So this allows you to condense meeting notes into actionable insights. So an example prompt here could be, as a meeting organizer, summarize the action items and key discussion points from this meeting transcript. So as you see in this output, I've uploaded the transcript itself, and then it just starts giving me some information. So this is just some dummy data. You can also use ChatGPT to summarize screenshots and images itself. So extract different text from screenshots or visual content. An example prompt here could be, summarize the content shown in this screenshot or image, highlighting relevant details. So the output you see, I uploaded this image on most interested in generative AI, and there's a lot of data points that are shown in this infographic. And so I got it to summarize it in text, and it gives me this key points that I should be taking note of. You can even get ChatGPT to summarize YouTube videos and just get the overall key points from very long podcasts or YouTube videos that you want to take some notes on. Right, so while ChatGPT, the default, doesn't necessarily do a great job, you can go to the GPT store and then access either search for YouTube video summary or YouTube summary, and it'll give you a couple of lists. I chose this one called Video Summarizer just because there's so many conversations that were had with it, as well as a very great score. An example prompt you can start off is, provide a summary of the main points covered in this YouTube video, including any key timestamps, and then you paste in the YouTube URL. And as you see from the output, it will then give a quick summary of what was there with all the different timestamps. So you can refer back to the video later on. And this is really great for either repurposing content, taking notes, just learning in general. And then as I spoke about earlier, you can use ChatGPT to analyze data as well. So we start off with sentiment data. And this is where you analyze customer social media sentiment in the reviews or comments you see. So an example prompt here could be, as a marketing analyst, analyze this stock sentiment dataset, provide insights on what are the most common emotions people are feeling, which stock are people most interested in. And so you upload your data. So you see from this output, I have uploaded it. Don't mind if it says unable to display visualization. Sometimes ChatGPT does this, especially if it's an older conversation. And so you can see the different positive sentiments across all of the instances. So just doing this manually would take so much more work, but now I can just get ChatGPT to do most of the heavy lifting for me. Other type of data you can do is web data. So you can extract and analyze trends from web traffic or performance data. So an example prompt here could be, as a marketing analyst, analyze the following web traffic data to identify key trends and suggest actionable improvements. So you see the output here. I uploaded the data, and then it gives me overall trends from the traffic, and then so what are some improvements that I can do as well thereafter. Then you can also work with product data, where you can provide insights into different product metrics and performance. So an example prompt here could be, as a product manager, analyze this product data and highlight important metrics such as which country has most sales, which 3 products are most popular in sales, and any additional insights. And so you see the output here. I uploaded the data, and then it gives me some key insights from the product data, in this case, a supply chain data. And so it tells me Mumbai is leading with the highest revenue. These 3 product lines, skincare, hair care, and cosmetics, are the top 3, and so many additional insights that I can take note of. Then you can look at financial data, which helps to analyze and summarize different financial statements that you will look for. So an example prompt here could be, as a financial analyst, analyze this financial report and summarize key findings on revenue, expenses, and profit margins. And then you upload your data. So you see the results here, upload my data, and it's just giving me some key findings, some total revenue, total expenses, total profit. And then it can just give you some references and give you some insights about all of this financial data that you have about your company. So a lot of this I just got from dummy data. And then of course you can work with customer data as well, which breaks down different customer feedback and behavioral data. So an example prompt here could be, as a customer success manager, analyze this customer data to identify trends in behavior, churn, and engagement. And so you upload your data and you get the following result, where it then looks at churn risk, engagements by professional, and then some deeper insights. And then lastly, you can also leverage employee data, right, where you analyze different employee survey results or performance metrics. An example prompt here could be, as a HR manager, analyze this employee survey data to identify who has worked in the company longest and suggest areas for improvement. And so I can see some of the key findings here. The employee with the longest service has been within the company for 34 years, areas for improvement, what are things that we can do as a company to improve this, and some recommendations on how to go about improving it. Now, when it comes to practicing analyzing data with ChatGPT or any other LLM, sometimes it can be a little bit hard if you don't have data to feed it. And then you don't want to be feeding it any sensitive data as well, whether it's your personal data or whether it's an organization's data. So instead, what I do recommend is going to a platform called Kaggle. This is the largest AI and ML community out there, and they have a bunch of public data sets that you can check out. You go to data sets and see all of the different data sets that they provide. And people have cleaned these data sets as well, so it's going to be easy to analyze through them. Or if not, you can also go to data.gov, and they also have a large amount of different data sets that you can download and look through and just play around with. ChatGPT or other LLMs are also great to learn a specific concept or getting something explained to you in a very simple way. So we can use ChatGPT to explain a heavy concept to you in a very straightforward manner. So in this case, we can use the internet lingo like that of Eli 5, which stands for explain it to me like I'm 5. and this will help break down whatever concept you give it in a very easy to understand way. So an example prompt here could be, as a science educator, elify the concept of quantum entanglement in a simple and concise way for a beginner learner. And you see the output here. It gives me just a very simple explanation to what quantum entanglement may be. And if you want to take it further, you can even ask it to provide a step-by-step explanation as well. You can then also feed in another internet lingo called TLDR, where perhaps you want the explanation that is quite complex and long to be provided in a much more summarized way, right? So TLDR stands for too long didn't read. So an example prompt here could be TLDR, the explanation of quantum entanglement, provided in bullet point format. So you see the output here. What I did was I gave the prompt, I uploaded the explanation earlier, and then I get an explanation. And then because I forgot to provide in bullet point format, I then added that later, and then now it just gives me that simple explanation in bullet point format. You can also use ChatGPT to really test your knowledge on specific subjects using the quiz method. So an example prompt here could be, as a history teacher, create a 10-question quiz to test knowledge on World War II for intermediate students. And so you see the output, it gives me a bunch of quizzes. If you're an educator, this will be really helpful for creating quizzes, but also if you're just trying to learn a subject yourself, this could be a great way for you to test your knowledge to see if you really understand. Now, if you're a researcher, you can also use ChatGPT for research assistance. And an example prompt here could be, as a researcher, gather relevant information or renewable energy advancements, including recent studies or reports, and summarize the key points. Provide links if possible. And so you see the output here. It's actually searched through 6 different websites, which has provided its sources. And you can double check this if it's correct. And then this can help you look and do all your research in a little bit faster way. If you are a programmer or a software developer, it can also be super useful for using ChatGPT to program specific things, or even perhaps if you're trying to learn programming to get some assistance with coding. So an example prompt here could be, as a professional programmer, provide coding assistance for debugging a Python script to fix a syntax error. And you see the output here. So it first just takes it step by step, identify the syntax error, and then it gives you an example, and then gives you the second step. And so this is really step-by-step process to understand what's really going on. And it gives you all these explanations so that you can really understand how the code is functioning and what you're doing with the code. And of course, you can also use ChatGPT to then translate specific text as well. And especially with ChatGPT, this supports many languages. So this is where I find it to be quite useful. So an example prompt here could be, as an expert translator, translate the following text from French to English while maintaining nuance and considering cultural references. And then you paste in your text. So you see the output here. I pasted in this text from a news website. And then what it did was just give me a quick little output. DALL-E is OpenAI's image generator, currently integrated into the ChatGPT interface, making it super easy to get accustomed to. The platform is named with a nod to the famous surrealist artist Salvador Dali and the Pixar's animated robot WALL-E. Unlike its predecessors, DALL-E 3 is only accessible via ChatGPT Plus and Teams leveraging GPT-4. All you have to do is sign up for an OpenAI account, and when writing a prompt in ChatGPT, make sure to indicate that you want it to use DALL-E to generate an image. As noted, DALL-E is currently on its 3rd version at the time of recording this video. Some of its capabilities include enhanced ability to follow prompts for better alignment, improved relevance of images, improved output via enhanced diffusion decoders, improved performance, the prevention of harmful content being created, and editing capabilities that you can follow up with. While DALL-E uses the same interface of ChatGPT, prompting looks slightly different with DALL-E. While these aren't hard guidelines, some things to take into consideration are to, number 1, specify the details or style. The more specific your prompt is, the better the image quality. So include details like the settings, colors, and style that you want to use. I'll talk about the art styles and photography styles you should be familiar with later down in the course. Then learn to define your mood. Describe the mood or atmosphere you want to convey to guide the AI in setting the right tone. Also learn to be descriptive. Remember, we're working with images here. So adjectives that help in refining the image are always welcome. For example, instead of saying generate a dog, try to say generate a fluffy, small brown dog. You also need to learn to frame your scene. Mention if you want a close-up, a wide shot, a bird's eye view, or a specific angle to take place. This helps in framing the scene correctly. Imagine each image as a sort of frame by frame for a video. The more you get your mindset in that, the easier it'll become to create an image that you want. Also learn to avoid overloading. While being detailed is important, you need to also learn to be concise with your words. Try not to spam your prompt with too many descriptive words. Try to keep it to about 4 to 7 words per description, because if you do end up overloading it, the AI may end up getting confused and create something entirely different than what you expect. And then finally, as I mentioned this in the text-to-text generation section, iterate continuously. Learn to speak with the AI, converse with it. Sometimes you're not going to get the image that you want on your first try, so learn to refine the prompt and try again. So now that you're familiar with what image generation is, it's capable of doing, as well as DALL-E, it's time to get started with actually creating with DALL-E. In the next series of videos, I will be talking about how to generate images for specific use cases using DALL-E. And much like the text generation section, take note that all prompt templates used in the example prompts can be found in the supplementary ebook to this course. So now let's get started. UI mockups. You can use DALL-E to generate high-quality user interface designs quickly and easily. An example prompt could be, as a UX designer, use DALL-E to create a modern, clean UI mockup for a mobile app focused on online shopping, tailored for e-commerce businesses, using a minimalist color palette with dark mauve style. This is going to be super useful for UI UX designers or product designers or people that work in this space. And so it can help to generate mockups quickly and easily. Of course, you can't leverage them yourself, but you can get some inspiration and then transfer that idea over into Figma or whatever platform you use. Wireframes. You can also use DALL-E to create rough wireframe sketches to visualize apps or website layouts. An example prompt here could be, as a UX product designer, use DALL-E to create a wireframe layout for a fitness tracking app, emphasizing intuitive navigation, workout logging forms, and real-time user feedback. These aren't always going to be perfect, but it gives you a rough idea on and sketch about what kind of wireframes to create. Yeah, I don't tend to use these directly myself, but sometimes it can be a good way to get started real quick. Photography. You can also use DALL-E to create realistic or stylized photographs based on detailed text descriptions. So an example prompt here could be, as a photographer, generate a high-quality realistic photograph of a woman reading a book in a natural park setting using soft natural light. Use a portrait camera style. So while the image here may not look perfectly real, this can probably be corrected if you try to emphasize photorealism into this. Art illustrations. Use DALL-E to also produce custom unique illustrations for digital and print media. An example prompt here could be, as a graphic artist, use DALL-E to create a digital illustration of a space traveler on a distant planet in a retro-futuristic art style. Logo design. Use DALL-E to design logos and branding materials tailored to your business needs as well. For example prompt here could be, as a brand designer, use DALL-E to create a minimalist logo for a coffee shop, incorporating a coffee cup and steam in the design. Make sure the logo contains brown and cream colors. So this is super useful for anybody that's creating their own business or brand and wants to get a quick logo up. The only downside to this is that it's not downloadable in SVG or PNG files, so you do need to make some edits. Interior design. You You can also use DALL-E to visualize and experiment with different interior design layouts and decor. An example prompt here could be, as an interior designer, use DALL-E to create a layout for a modern living room, a Scandinavian decor style. Make sure to include neutral tones, wooden furniture, and cozy textiles in the design. Fashion design. Use DALL-E to also craft innovative fashion designs and clothing concepts. An example prompt here could be, as a fashion designer, use DALL-E to create a summer dress design inspired by the 1960s boho style. Make sure the clothing design features lightweight cotton fabric, floral patterns, and pastel colors. You can also use DALL-E to generate creative packaging concepts for products. So an example prompt here could be, as a packaging designer, use DALL-E to create a sleek and modern packaging design for a luxury skincare product using metallic gold accents, minimalistic fonts, and eco-friendly materials. This is going to be great for anybody who wants to package their products in a more unique way, especially if you want to try to focus on more eco-friendly methods. So you can get some ideas here. Character design. You can also use DALL-E to create detailed and imaginative character designs, whether it be for games or media. An example prompt here could be, as a character designer, use DALL-E to create a character for a fantasy role-playing game with elven features, an archer costume, and a magical staff. Keep in mind, this doesn't only have to be for game design. It can also be for creating characters or visualizing your characters from a novel you wrote, or perhaps even a story you're thinking of. DALL-E can also be used to design immersive environments for storytelling or game development. An example prompt here could be, use DALL-E to create an atmospheric environment for a fantasy forest in a dark, mysterious style. This comes super useful for any game designers, or perhaps for your novel, to visualize your novel or story. Besides creating with DALL-E, DALL-E 3 now has the capability for you to edit within its interface itself. So anytime an image is created, all you have to do is click on it to open up a big size here. At the top right, you can kind of see select. Here on the info tooltip, you can see a general prompt, like a general description of what the text could be. So you can reference this for later, or you can save it into your computer. Let's go with select. Once you hit select, you'll have the option to adjust the size of your brush. So this is the brush here. If I want to go a little bit left here, make it smaller. And so from that point, you just have to select what area you want to edit. So let's say I want to select this. And then immediately at the bottom, you'll notice an edit selection here. So at this point, you just type something like add a squirrel in the background. And if you press enter, it will start creating a new image based off of the edits you've done. So if you can see on the right, this is the results that I got. Add a squirrel in the background. And the following result, added a squirrel in the background. Now, take note, something that you might notice here is that the image, while it did add a squirrel in the background, it also took some liberties to add another at the background as well, and also flipped the image as well as the main subject model as a whole. So this is something that I feel DALL-E's editing capabilities hasn't perfected yet, which it takes its own liberties to sort of adjust the image. And this can be a bit frustrating, especially if you want the image to remain consistent and just want to edit a few things. So just take note when you are adding an extra editing prompt, keep it simple as possible, because if you do write more extensively, DALL-E may end up getting confused and create an entirely new image as a whole. Because even if you notice with a simple prompt like this, add a squirrel in the background, it still managed to change the entire image as a whole.